Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb sat in the fourth row at Bagram Airfield, trying to laugh at Robin Williams' jokes, trying to pretend everything was normal. But 30 minutes ago his world had ended. A chaplain had pulled him aside before the show and told him, "Your wife died during childbirth. Your daughter survived. Your wife didn't." They'd asked if he wanted to leave, but Webb said no. If he left during the show, 200 soldiers would notice, questions would be asked, panic would spread. So he walked back into that auditorium, sat down, and tried to hold himself together while Robin Williams made everyone laugh. Then, in the middle of the performance, something impossible happened. The base commander walked on stage. She whispered something to Williams, and Williams did something unprecedented. He asked the entire audience to close their eyes and keep them closed. "I'm going to speak to one person in this room," Williams said. "Just one. The rest of you are witnesses." What Williams said in those 5 minutes of darkness, speaking to a man he couldn't see, couldn't identify, couldn't find, saved Marcus Webb's life. October 14th, 2010, Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb was walking toward the base theater for Robin Williams' USO show when Chaplain Reynolds intercepted him. "Marcus, I need you to come with me." The chaplain's face said everything. Something terrible had happened. Webb followed him to a small office away from the crowd. His hands were already shaking. Chaplain Reynolds sat him down, looked him in the eyes, and said the words that would destroy everything. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. We just received word from Walter Reed. Your wife, Jessica, went into labor early this morning. There were complications. They tried everything. I'm so sorry, son. She didn't make it." Webb stared at him. The words didn't make sense. Jessica was fine. He'd talked to her on Skype 2 days ago. She was 8 months pregnant, glowing, excited. They'd picked out names, Emma for a girl, Michael for a boy. She was going to send him a video of the ultrasound. "She couldn't be dead." "What?" Webb whispered. "What do you mean she didn't make it?" "There was an amniotic embolism during delivery. It's rare, unpredictable. They did everything they could." The chaplain's voice was gentle but firm. "Your daughter survived. Emma. She's in the NICU, but she's stable. She's going to be okay. Your daughter survived. Your wife didn't. Both sentences were true. Both were impossible." Webb felt his chest tighten, felt the air leave his lungs. Jessica was dead. His wife. The woman he'd loved since high school. The woman who wrote him letters every week, who sent care packages with terrible cookies she'd baked herself, who stayed up at 3 a.m. for Skype calls because that's when his schedule allowed. Dead. And he'd never said goodbye, never told her one last time that she was everything, and now he had a daughter he'd never met, a daughter who would never know. Her mother. "We can arrange emergency leave immediately," Chaplain Reynolds said. "You can be on a transport to Germany tonight, back to the States by tomorrow." Webb nodded. But then he thought about the logistics. If he left right now, his entire unit would know something catastrophic had happened. They'd see him leave. They'd ask questions. Word would spread. "Is there a flight before the show?" he asked. The chaplain checked his watch. "Next transport leaves at 2200 hours. The show starts at 1900. 3 hours. Webb could hide for 3 hours. Wait until after the show, then leave quietly. Nobody would notice one soldier leaving late at night. But if he left now, during Robin Williams' show that everyone had been excited about for weeks, it would cause panic, rumors. His squad would worry." "I'll wait," Webb said. "I'll go to the show. I'll leave after." "Marcus, you don't have to—" "I need to act normal," Webb interrupted. His voice was flat, mechanical. "Just for 3 hours, then I'll go. But if I leave now, if I don't show up to the show, everyone will know something's wrong." Chaplain Reynolds looked at him for a long moment. "Okay, but I'm telling Base Commander Mitchell in case you need anything." Webb nodded. He stood up, his legs unsteady, and walked toward the theater. He didn't remember walking there. He didn't remember finding his seat in the fourth row. He just remembered sitting down, surrounded by 200 soldiers, all of them laughing and joking and excited and trying to make his face look normal, trying to make his hands stop shaking, trying to breathe through the crushing weight in his chest. The lights went down. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Robin Williams exploded onto the stage. He was 59 years old and moving like a man half his age, pure manic energy. He launched into a bit about airport security, then pivoted to a conversation between Obama and Karzai. then became a helicopter, then a confused private, then Gollum from Lord of the Rings finding an IED. The crowd was losing it. 1,200 exhausted soldiers, most of them on their second or third deployment, laughing so hard some of them were crying. Webb sat perfectly still. He heard the laughter around him, heard Williams' voice, that rapid-fire delivery, those impossible character changes. But it was like watching through glass. He couldn't feel anything. His mind kept replaying the chaplain's words. "Your wife didn't make it. Your daughter survived." How was that possible? How could both be true? The soldier next to him, Private Chen, elbowed him. "Dude, this is amazing. Williams is insane." Webb forced a smile, nodded. Chen didn't notice anything wrong. Nobody did. Webb was good at hiding. He'd been hiding his fear for 14 months in this war, hiding his exhaustion, his homesickness, his nightmares. What was one more thing to hide? Williams had been performing for 90 minutes straight. No breaks, no water, just pure performance. He was doing his. Schwarzenegger impression threatening to terminate the Taliban when something changed. Base Commander Colonel Sarah Mitchell walked onto the stage. She never interrupted shows. Never. She was walking quickly, her face serious, and she went straight to Williams. The crowd went quiet, confused. Mitchell leaned in, whispered something in Williams' ear. 4 words that Webb couldn't hear. Williams' face changed instantly. The manic energy drained out of him like someone had pulled a plug. His eyes scanned the crowd, and for one terrible second, Webb thought Williams was looking directly at him. But that was impossible. Nobody knew. Only the chaplain and the commander. Williams stood perfectly still for a moment, processing. Then he held up his hand. "Everyone sit down. Right now." The crowd, confused, sat. The laughter died completely. Webb felt his heart start to race. What was happening? Had there been an attack? Were they in danger? "I need you to close your eyes," Williams said. His voice was completely different, quiet, gentle. No jokes, no characters, just Robin Williams, the man, speaking. "All of you, close your eyes right now, and don't open them. I don't care what you hear. Keep them closed for 5 minutes. 1,200 soldiers looked at each other, bewildered, but Williams' tone left no room for argument. Slowly, the entire audience closed their eyes. Webb closed his too, and in that darkness, Williams spoke. "I'm going to speak to one person in this room, just one. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you're sitting, but someone just told me that you got news, the worst possible news, the kind of news that makes you want to stop existing." Webb's entire body went rigid. He knew. Somehow, Williams knew. "You lost someone," Williams continued. "Someone you love. Someone who was your whole world. And you're sitting here, in this room, surrounded by people, trying to hold it together, trying not to fall apart, because you're a soldier, and soldiers don't break. Soldiers stay strong." Webb's hands were gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles were white. He couldn't breathe. "But here's what I need you to know," Williams said. His voice was soft, but it carried through the silent room. "You don't have to be strong right now. Not here, not with me. Everyone in this room has their eyes closed. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody can see you. So for the next 5 minutes, you have permission to feel everything." And that's when Webb broke. Tears started streaming down his face. Silent, choking sobs he'd been holding in for 90 minutes. His shoulders shook. He covered his face with his hands. Around him, 200 soldiers sat with their eyes closed, witnessing nothing and everything. "I don't know what you lost," Williams said, "but I know this. Whatever you're feeling right now, the rage, the disbelief, the absolute unfairness of it, that's real, that's valid. You have every right to fall apart, and you will survive this. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know it feels like the world just ended. But you will breathe through this moment, and then the next moment, and then the next. One breath at a time." Webb was sobbing now. He didn't care if people could hear him. The darkness gave him permission to break. "You're going to leave here soon," Williams continued. "You're going to go home, and you're going to face something impossibly hard. But you're not going to face it alone, because every single person in this room, even though they don't know who you are, is holding space for your grief right now. They're witnesses, they're brothers and sisters, and they will carry some of this weight with you." Williams paused. Webb could hear him breathing into the microphone. "I can't fix this for you," Williams said. "I can't take away your pain, but I can give you 5 minutes where you don't have to pretend. 5 minutes where you can just be broken, because you've earned the right to be broken. And being broken doesn't make you weak, it makes you human." For 5 minutes, Robin Williams spoke in that darkened room. He talked about grief, about survival, about the impossible task of continuing when everything inside you wants to stop. He told a story about losing his best friend John Belushi in 1982, about how grief ambushes you at random moments, about how you learn to carry it, not overcome it. Just carry it. "The people we lose don't leave us," Williams said. "They become part of how we see the world, part of how we love, and that's not nothing, that's everything." When 5 minutes passed, Williams' voice shifted slightly. "Okay. Everybody keep your eyes closed for 10 more seconds. The person I was talking to, you take whatever time you need. Leave when you're ready. Nobody will watch. Nobody will ask. You have permission to grieve however you need to." 10 seconds passed. Williams said, "Okay, open your eyes." 1,200 soldiers opened their eyes. They looked around, trying to figure out who it had been, but nobody knew. Webb kept his head down, wiped his face with his sleeve. The soldier next to him, Private Chen, had tears in his eyes, too. Half the room did, witnesses to a grief they couldn't see but could feel. Williams looked out at the crowd. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for giving someone privacy in a room full of people. That's what soldiers do. You protect each other, even from pain you can't see." Then, slowly, Williams shifted back. The energy returned, not all of it, but enough. "All right, who wants to hear my Bush impression?" The crowd, grateful for the release, roared. After the show, Webb waited until most people had left. He stood up, legs unsteady, and started walking toward the exit. A hand touched his shoulder. He turned. It was Base Commander Mitchell. "Staff Sergeant Webb, come with me." She led him to a small office behind the stage. Robin Williams was sitting there, still in his performance clothes, drinking water. He looked up. When Webb entered, Mitchell said, "This is the soldier," and quietly left the room. Williams stood up. He didn't say anything. He just looked at Webb, and Webb saw something in Williams' eyes that he hadn't expected. Recognition, not of who Webb was, but of what he was feeling. Williams walked over and hugged him, just hugged him, tight, like a father, and Webb, who'd been holding himself together for 4 hours, collapsed completely. He sobbed into Robin Williams' shoulder while the comedian, the man who'd just performed for 3 hours straight, just held him. "What was her name?" Williams asked quietly. "Jessica," Webb whispered. "Tell me about her." And Webb did. For 20 minutes he told Robin Williams about Jessica, about how they met in high school, about her terrible baking, about how she wanted to be a teacher, about how she'd written him 43 letters during this deployment, about how she'd sent him a onesie that said, "My daddy's a hero," for the baby, about how she'd never hold that baby, about how he'd never see her again. Williams listened to all of it, asked questions, laughed at the funny parts, and when Webb finally ran out of words, Williams said, "She sounds like she was extraordinary, and your daughter Emma's going to know that, because you're going to tell her every day. You're going to make sure Emma knows exactly who her mother was." "I don't know how to do this," Webb said. "I don't know how to be a father without her." "Nobody knows how until they do it," Williams said. "But here's what I know. You walked into that show tonight even though your world had just ended. You sat there for 2 hours because you didn't want to cause panic. That's not weakness, that's strength, and that strength is going to get you through this. 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 breath at a time." Webb flew out that night. By the next evening, he was at Walter Reed Medical Center, holding his daughter Emma for the first time. She was tiny, barely 6 pounds, hooked up to monitors and IVs. But she was alive, and she had Jessica's eyes. Webb sat in that NICU for hours, holding his daughter, crying and trying to figure out how to be both parents. What Webb didn't know was what happened after he left Bagram. Robin Williams called a meeting with Base Commander Mitchell, the chaplain, and the head of Military Mental Health Services. "What we did tonight," Williams said, "that needs to be protocol. When a soldier gets catastrophic news, they need the option to grieve privately, in a crowd, anonymously, because forcing someone to be alone with that news or forcing them to be publicly identified, that's cruel." Within 6 months, the Department of Defense had created what they internally called the Bagram Protocol. If a service member received death notification while on base, they could request crowd anonymity support, the ability to receive the news and process it in a public setting without being identified. Chaplains were trained. Commanders were briefed, and it all started because Robin Williams stopped a show and gave one soldier permission to break. Webb came home, raised Emma as a single father, and left the Army in 2012. He struggled. PTSD, survivor's guilt, depression. There were days he didn't think he could do it, but every time he hit bottom, he remembered what Williams had said, one breath at a time, and he'd pick up Emma, look at Jessica's eyes staring back at him, and keep going. In August 2014, Webb was at home in Virginia when the news broke. Robin Williams had died. Suicide. Webb sat on his couch, holding 4-year-old Emma, and cried. Emma asked why Daddy was sad. Webb tried to explain. A man saved my life once, and now he's gone. He wanted to thank Williams, wanted to tell him that the Bagram Protocol had helped 47 other soldiers since that night, wanted to tell him that Emma was thriving, happy, loved. But he never got the chance. In 2015, Webb was contacted by the USO. They were creating a documentary about Robin Williams' military tours. They'd heard about Bagram. Would Webb be willing to talk about it? Webb said yes. He sat in front of a camera and told the story about Jessica, about sitting in that audience trying not to fall apart, about 5 minutes of darkness and permission to grieve, about how Robin Williams, a comedian he'd never met, saved his life with 4 words. You don't have to pretend. The documentary aired in 2016. It's called Laughing Through War, the Robin Williams USO Legacy. The Bagram segment is 12 minutes long. Webb tells his story, other soldiers tell theirs, and at the end, there's footage of Robin Williams from a different tour saying something to a camera. These soldiers give everything. The least I can do is show up and remind them they're human, that they're loved, that their pain matters. Today, Marcus Webb is 42 years old. Emma is 14. She's a straight-A student who wants to be a nurse. Webb keeps a photo of Jessica on the mantle, and every year on her birthday, he and Emma bake terrible cookies in her honor. And in Webb's office, there's a framed letter from Susan Williams, Robin's widow, sent to him in 2015. It says, Robin never forgot Bagram. He talked about it often, about the soldier he couldn't see but could feel, about how that night taught him that sometimes the most important thing you can do is stop performing and just be present. Thank you for letting him be there for you. It meant more to him than you'll ever know. The Bagram Protocol is still in effect. Since 2010, it's been used 73 times. 73 soldiers have had the option to grieve privately in a crowd because Robin Williams understood something the military hadn't. Pain witnessed is pain shared, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do is give someone permission to break. If this story about grief, survival, and the power of being present moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to not be okay. That breaking doesn't mean you're broken. Have you ever had someone give you permission to feel your pain? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the moments that remind us we're all beautifully, painfully human.